Hello guys, and today President Zelensky presented to the world and Ukrainians our victory plan. And if I had to put it in just one phrase, this would be make Ukraine stronger, and this will be better for all of us around the world. I mean, all of us who care for human life, democratic values and freedom. Because we have to be honest, right now Ukraine is fighting not just with the Russian Federation, but also with North Korea, with Iran and China. And this is difficult, especially if we want to demonstrate that the democratic world is strong and united. Right now, I will enumerate all the 5 steps in this peace victory plan, because peace is impossible without the Ukrainian victory. And also, I would like to add one very important argument that somehow slows down our partners who still believe that Putin is negotiable and sane, when in reality, during the years of his rule, he lost his mind. And there are some vivid proof of that, especially if you compare interviews of Putin, let's say in 2005, 2008, with what he says right now. So let's discuss Ukrainian victory plan and Putin's psychosis from an ordinary Ukrainian perspective. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Russia defeated and Putin in prison, or where he actually belongs, I don't know, some medical institutions, research institutions, subscribe. We will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. But let's start with something positive, and that is Ukrainian victory plan. Everyone in Ukraine understands that peace is only possible after the victory of Ukraine and its allies, because otherwise this will be just a prolonged frozen conflict, which will result in another destructions and tragedies, and potentially not just in Ukraine but in some other countries that Putin will decide to return back to the monster of the Soviet Union that he dreams to rebuild. We know that since 2014, many democratic leaders have chosen to appease Putin, and in reality, dictators like him treat it as the green light to continue. So it goes without saying that it is impossible to return back to the good old normal world, and unfortunately many still believe with this fantasy and try to reason as if Putin was just a bad person but at the same time an adequate one, when in reality he is a totally irrational dictator that actually began the World War and now inspires other crazy leaders like Kim Jong-un. Don't tell me that you believe it is possible to reason with them, to provide them with some arguments, and I don't know, to get some adequate reactions. So according to President Zelensky, and here I support the majority, the very vast majority of all Ukrainians, plan number 1 is to become NATO members. There are different options, there are different possibilities, but we do need a vivid gesture from the side of our partners that we belong to the world of democratic values, that we deserve to be a part of NATO. And honestly, right now, what Putin does constantly tests the alliance, and he does it with a specific reason, because believe me, on his list of potential territorial invasions, there are more countries and some unexpected names. There are different options how Ukraine can join NATO, starting from the pessimistic German scenario, when first the part of the country that is under the control of the Ukrainian government joins NATO, and then after the liberation of other territories, the country is united, and finishing with just symbolic invitation and some guarantees from other members. But this is important, and this is also a test whether you are afraid of authoritarian regimes, whether they can achieve whatever they want simply by frightening others, and that's not the way we can survive on the planet. Step number 2 is, of course, the defense of Ukraine and strengthening of our military potential. And I know many of smart observers and analysts from the Western countries often say that it is much better to invest weapons and equipment in Ukraine, then in a couple of years to send your own children to the front lines. Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi and others, believe me, they plan really bad things. It all reminds me of 1938 very much. So of course, if I had the choice to support other nation and help this nation defeat the evil and simply remain safe and sound in my land, I'd definitely choose that. As a Ukrainian, I don't have this option, but you do have. Subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine and help us protect the democratic world, because this is already the world war. I know many tell me it's only the world war when the war takes place in different areas and so on. Well, right now here in Ukraine, we already have North Korean soldiers, which are not Russian. We observe conflicts appearing and inspired by Russian, Iran leaders in different parts of the world, and it's not happening just because. And believe me, lots of troubles inside of your countries are caused by Russian hybrid war. So step number three is non-nuclear weapons, but very serious weapons located on the territory of Ukraine to control Russia. Because until the dissolution of this evil empire, until the serious punishment and de-zombification, until Putin's imprisonment, nothing normal can actually happen there. And we have to be prepared. The majority of Ukrainians have already understood that we cannot return back to the old good normal. It's impossible for us. We have to remain well-trained, well-prepared and militarized. Actually, with the start of his invasion, Putin achieved the country to what he wanted. He militarized and nationalized, united the country, making us more caring about each other. He actually boosts the interest in cultural, linguistic, historical identity among the youth. And we realize this is our new normal. And unfortunately, it is also the new normal for many countries of the world. And I hated how many keep wearing this pink tinted glasses, believing that like North Korean soldiers, thousands of them, traveling to Russia, disrespecting all international regulations, and you say, who knows? Well, that's a very big mistake of the North Korea. North Korea itself is a very big mistake, but unfortunately with the weapons that can seriously damage the planet. When will we finally start answering them the way they deserve? That's the only language dictators understand. Then step number 4 is optimistic. It's more oriented on the post-war Ukraine, our strategic and economic development. I'm not that focused on this stage right now because at the moment we're fighting for our survival as a nation, as a culture. And it's super important for us to survive, you know, and I don't wish you ever to go through such kind of experience. And I'm sure that after we win, I have no doubt many of you and many of businesses and initiatives from different corners of the world will come here to Ukraine and will support us, will learn from us, and it will be a great moment. I personally try to think of Ukraine as of the post-Second World War Europe, which was not in decline, which was not that traumatized and depressed, but more vibrant, more alive than ever before. And actually lots of new businesses, lots of new discoveries were made in the late 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s. So hopefully we will repeat that living experience. Also, when I travel to Bucha, Irpin, that's what I see there. Lots of life, lots of babies, lots of new houses built. And I pray that something similar happens with the rest of Ukraine after we win. Subscribe to witness that together. You know that our community, our big community, are friends, and not just of each other, not just of Ukraine, but of all the kind, good, and respectful. And step number 5 is actually to help Ukraine share experience, because I often see that, please forgive me, but I often see how far away from the real war even advanced military analysts from faraway countries are. And even as an ordinary civilian, but in times of war, I understand more than these people. Why? Because it's uncomparable, the theory of war and the practice of war, and the practice of this kind of war, which resembles the Second World War. It's not a special military operation somewhere in the mountains where you fight with people who don't know how to use computers. It's a little bit very, very different. It is fighting with the largest country in the world. Okay, depressive, miserable, but the largest country in the world that was preparing for the Cold War during the Cold War period for decades, which is filled with hatred and desire to kill actually the Western world, the democratic values, to illustrate that the only effective form of rule is authoritarian, totalitarian, that, Stalin is a Hitler, Kim Jong-un is a new leader of the new world. I don't want to believe that we will let that happen. And I'm sure that Ukrainian experience, military experience, political experience, and even economic experience will be useful to prevent all of that. Because right now we clearly see that organizations like United Nations or Red Cross, they do not work anymore. And I am sure that the majority of the global leaders, unfortunately, will simply read this plan, discuss this plan, speak how difficult it is to achieve all the things that we want, and keep hoping that Putin is a normal person, and at a certain moment of time he will decide he wants to get back to G8. In his mind, he is already building new G5, G8 without your countries, without your presidents or prime ministers. He has his friends in Iran, in China, in North Korea. He does not need you from Germany, Denmark, or France, or the US. They are trying to change the world order, and many global leaders are trying to pretend that nothing is happening when everything has already started. We are in the middle of something very important and something very decisive, and once again, not just for Ukraine. All over Ukrainian internet, and I've seen translation, goes a real video. It becomes viral with Putin giving an interview at the start of his career, where he was asked if he would like to return Crimea back to Russia. And he says this would be a great mistake, because if we take something from Ukraine, other countries will want to take something from us. And he provides very sane, very normal arguments. And people forgot about that, and now lots of friends of Putin try to remind him, try to persuade him he's wrong. He had a totally different opinion, similar to the one that you have right now. But during decades of his reign, of his dictatorship, he lost his mind. Have a look at his bunkers, have a look at his botox, have a look at those long tables. Realize he has doubles. We do have a video about that. He does have doubles. This look insane, but this is how dictators live. They are insane. Can you persuade? Can you appease? Can you negotiate someone with with a person that lost its mind long ago? And there is evidence, and many choose to turn the blind eye and believe, no, it's not happening. It has started, and our task is to finish it. That's why, to sum it all up, make Ukraine stronger, and this will be better for you too. Trust me, I'm Ukrainian, and we are determined to win this war, to defeat Putin, to demilitarize Russia, and to teach other authoritarian regimes that are watching, that are getting inspired from such criminal behaviors. Our task is to punish and stop them. Please share the videos on your social media platforms and join me on Instagram, X, Threads, Discord. All the links that you need are in the description of this video. And remember to join me this Saturday, 9 p.m. Kiev, to watch our live and discuss all of these complex but very important topics. Check our merch shop for lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Thank you for being friends of Ukraine. Join the community of the channel if you're new. And thank you for all that you do to help us fight and to help us win. Slava Ukraini!